All right, let's get to the big news of the day. It's only about an hour old. Jason Taylor, who's been on staff, will be on the field as the defensive ends coach, and I believe that makes you and a whole lot of people pretty excited.
Absolutely. News first broke by Canesville, Footballville, D and X over there on the Canesville and Footballville. They cover the University of Miami football program and South Florida sports end of his whole, mostly Dade County. But I want to make sure I give my shout out to them because they were the first people to break the news that he, as in Coach Jason Taylor, has accepted the position. Coach Jason Taylor also had an opportunity to go back to the place where he became a Hall of Famer for the Miami Dolphins and be there as a defensive coach. I don't know specifically where I would expect on the defensive line, or maybe an outside linebackers coach there for their 3-4 attack that they're trying to bring to the table with Coach Vic Fangio. They're coaching their defense. But instead, he decided to stay with the University of Miami. Not only stay with the University of Miami, but get a promotion, which is huge. Okay. There comes a point, Mark, where some of the best players may not turn out to be really good coaches. But we've seen that with football kind of turn heads. Okay, you look at Coach Prime and his time at Jackson State and his time at Truth Academy and his time now at Colorado. When it comes to him specifically coaching the cornerbacks, he's done very, very well there. Now you can say he's had some of the best players to do it recently, and Travis Hunter and now Cormani McClain there. But either way, you've seen some really good players come pretty good coaches. Um, you know, I think that Coach Jason Taylor is going to do a very, very good job, man. One of the big things about this Coach Guidry defense is that it has, like we illustrated before, two guys in a 32 in a 3 technique and a 2-eye technique with their hand in the dirt. The other two guys are standing 5 techniques and or 7s or wide 9s, depending on the tight end alignment, where they're standing up. And this is something that guys like Jason Taylor, guys like Terrell Suggs, guys like Dwight Freeney, those guys that were truly standing up and flying out of that 2-point stance. It's a very unique approach to how to play that position. Okay, historically, I mean LT Lawrence Taylor, historically, excuse me, these guys out of that 2-point stances, it's about that momentum, not really rocking back and forth, but kind of keeping all your power there and firing off that back foot and keeping that heel off the ground, keeping it, because that's where you get stagnant and you start to slow down, keeping your heels off of the ground at all times in your stance. And it's just how you strike and how you're supposed to keep your leverage, because coming out of a stance all the way down and then firing up, now you have to readjust your body. But if you're already in this motion, you have to be able to teach that. Okay, you got to be able to teach to dip the shoulder and teach how you're supposed to move and weave your body and take on blocks and pullers and things of that nature out of a 2-point stance. Whether you want to have your upfield foot up for run support when you're taking on a tight end, or if you want to flip your feet the opposite way where your upfield foot is up, and now we're stepping up the football field and more of a pass rush attempt. So it can get very, very technical as to how we really want to break down a 2-point stance. So having a guy that has done it, not only done it, but one of the greatest to have ever done it as a Hall of Famer, teaching that is very good for our young men coming off the edge for the University of Miami, whether that's blitz and linebackers, whether that's our traditional stand-up defense ends in Coach Guidry's position scheme. So I'm excited for him because there's nothing like being around the young men and getting the promotion at a place that you've been, a place that you're a little familiar with young men that you have worked with. It's a blessed feeling. So I'm happy for him. I hope things really, really work out, and I hope our players show up and show out for him. Okay, because one of the biggest things you want is when guys get retained and guys stick around in them, you want those players not only to speak up for them verbally, but to go out and show it on the football field. Like, I showed up because of insert coach name here and what he has done to help me change how I play, whether he teaches me little things in the film room, because as a defensive analyst, that's all he really was doing. Yes, he's doing some on-field coaching, but for the most part, it was film, technique, hammering those things home that the head defensive line coach, that the position that the defensive coordinator wants. You are kind of like the middleman between the players and the official coaches, really hammering that kind of stuff home to the young men. You get a chance to spend extra time with them watching film. You get a chance to go to the weight room. You get a chance to go out there on the field with them and really get some one-on-one as an analyst or a student assistant or a grad assistant, where you could really get that one-on-one with the young men. So him getting this promotion to me says that not only did the little things that he did with the players speak for themselves, but him being on time, him being attentive, him being great in the film, as far as really spoke a lot to Coach Cristobal to promote him from within. So I really, really like it. Again, not saying Mark we're about to go get 20 sacks and our DN is going second overall and we got a new chase. No, none of that. But either way, we have a really good coach. And I think some of these guys that we're about to get into here can really, really, really benefit from him. One in particular, a guy I've always really, really liked, and that's Cyrus Moss, man. He reminded me of young, Coach Taylor, as far as how he played. A young JT, stand up, kind of lanky and wiry, never really over 250, but looks real good. Nothing wrong with him, but his arms weren't swole. He ain't, Terrell Suggs 270, 280. But he was in that 240, 250 range as a player, but you didn't want to mess with him because he could still play and come off that line of scrimmage. So I think something like that can be implemented into a guy like Cyrus Moss.
The concern, and I'm going way back, and I'm not talking about concern about Jason Taylor. And I believe, as you've mentioned at the beginning of your portion there, I won't call it a myth because there's some truth to it, but it's based on each individual case and whether that great player can transition into a great coach. And that's completely up to them and their ability and their willingness to put in the work and become a great teacher. That is such a great component and a large component of being a great coach. But there was a long-lasting concern, decades ago about great players not becoming great coaches, because the thought was, and I'll take I'll go way before your time and I'll go to another sport. The classic example was Ted Williams, maybe the greatest hitter of all time, who wasn't a good baseball manager. The thought was basically that those guys had so much ability and so much skill, so much talent innately that they could cut corners, and maybe their technique wasn't the greatest because they were just such superior athletes that they maybe didn't know and couldn't relate to, okay, this skill level, I'm going to have to teach these techniques, these foundational core skills, because I kind of got away with not even executing those myself.
Absolutely. Or, Michael Jordan turned out to be a really horrible GM and things of that nature for the Charlotte team. I don't know what they're called now, Bobcats or whatever. I don't even know if this team is Charlotte anymore, but he was thought of as because they used to be the Pelican. Now they're Pelicans now, aren't they? I'm not a big
I don't
NBA
even
guy.
know.
I
know
don't
they
even
were the
know,
Bobcats. Of course, the Hornets, the Bobcats, and they might be the Pelicans now.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think they're New Orleans Pelicans. But anyway, I'm saying that to say that that's usually where it comes from. But then there's, like I said, Coach Prime, who was he was a great technician, but he also was blessed to be 6'1", 200 pounds, the fastest dude on the field too. So, but he also was a great technician, a great studier of the game. Now that's something that you can teach. You can't teach somebody, I don't know if Jadeveon Clowney could go be a defensive ends coach. I don't know. Because when he was at his prime, he's 6'6", 250 pounds, running a 4.45. Okay, and he made one great play and they took him over. But a guy like a JJ Watt, to me, I think would be a great coach, because the Charlotte Hornets, okay, because he was a true workaholic. Okay, he was somebody that really turned himself into what he became. As far, he had the size, but he was a backup tight end at Western Michigan. Okay, he wasn't he walked on to Wisconsin Madison. All right, this wasn't somebody who was some 5-star recruit, number 1 DN in the country, who's just destroying teams out there as a defensive end. So again, there's an old adage with that, and with the way that coaching has become so specific, where everybody has a specialization and they really want to hone in on that and really show their skills on that. This is something that can really really take to a different level, in my opinion. Luke Kuechly, that's a great example too, out of Boston College, a true film analysis. Yes, of course, he wasn't a scrub. He ain't out there running a 5.5 and 280 with 30% body fat. No, but he turned all that stuff around. Yes, he's 6'3", 6'4", but he also was a whiz. First off, he got into BC and graduated in 3 years. That should tell you something about the kind of mindset that it took him. You watch this guy play, and he might have had one of the highest IQs I've seen since Ray Ray. I don't know, in a while. He would just call out the play, and you just go, "Wow, good job, man.
Mm.
Good job, man." So, yeah, again, very, very excited about what's going to come out of that for Miami and for the players at Miami who will rush the passer. It will be something similar to if Ed Reed were to have stayed and become the safeties coach, as far as people being very, very excited to what it could turn into. Now, this year, I really like the fact that it's turned into not about the hype. All right, it's a lot of the Miami Hurricanes fans are in show me mode, Mark, and that's a big thing. Camp starts on Saturday, and we just got our staff fully put together. So again, we don't operate on Coach Cristobal's. Miami fans don't operate on Coach Cristobal's time, and Coach Cristobal don't operate on the Miami Hurricanes fan base time. When things are going to be put together, he put it together. He built his staff, and now they're going to go out there and try to make these young men as best as they can to go win football games.